All right, our next guest is a former Navy SEAL and a congressman from Texas. He's also the New York Times bestselling author of a brand new book called Fortitude: American Resilience in the Era of Outrage. It's a fantastic book. Congressman Dan Crenshaw, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
You bet. Congressman, I want to just tell you, I've downloaded it on Audible. I've got it here in hard copy, and I don't know if you can see it, but I mean, I have dog-eared so many pages and passages from this because I think every chapter is just such a fascinating read, both in terms of your life, the challenges, but also the lessons that people can learn about where we are in society. And so the thing that I wanted to start with is you talk a lot about cancel culture and safe spaces and how students are being coddled right now. Do you think that the generation that's coming out of college right now is prepared for the future based on this idea of how everything needs to be safe and their feelings are hurt by what they read and hear versus the experiences they have?
Oh, I'll try to give it an optimistic answer. So I am not responsible for the research on cancel culture and the coddling of on that goes on in America. I reference a lot of great work in that field. My book is about solutions to that problem. I don't dissect the problem as much. But here's what we've learned from the research that has taken place. It's mostly coastal elite institutions where this problem is most pervasive. It's much less likely to occur in other campuses, but it's increasing, and like that we can note for sure. It's certainly increasing. I think the vast majority of college students are still more worried about getting through their next exam and dating and what party they're going to next. That's what I hope, and that they're willing to work hard and move up a trajectory of a career trajectory just like everybody else. But there's enough of these sort of postmodern thinkers, the critical theorists, critical race theorists, critical gender theorists out there that are creating enough waves that we should be worried. And where we thought this would be confined to the campuses, it has now been let loose into the real world. That's where you're seeing corporations cave to the outrage mob and to the cancel culture. You're seeing our sports be completely desecrated by this cancel culture. And it's out there, and we have to talk about it in real terms. Real liberals and conservatives have to unite against this.
Yeah. One of the lessons that I was really fascinated by was how you handled the Saturday Night Live Pete Davidson issue where he had mocked your service and sacrifice to this country. Everything in me, Congressman, when that happened, wanted you to go after him, everything. And so I was so interested to see how you wrote about this. You talk about how you resisted that urge and that you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and reflect upon what he had said. Tell us about why you did that. I love how you explain this in the book.
Yeah, well, that chapter is about shame, and it's showing the right sense of shame. And so I use that as a pretty good example because there was obviously, maybe it didn't seem so obvious at the time, obviously space for some kind of different interpretation of intent, and as there always is in any given confrontation. And what you're describing is what a lot of people felt like. Go get him. This is it. But that wasn't what I felt, and so I couldn't. First of all, I couldn't react to something differently than how I actually felt. Now, I'm a little bit different than most people. I come from the SEAL teams. We have extremely thick skin. We're used to this kind of mocking and behavior. But there's a logical sense of shame that we can use to shame others and also use to react to being shamed. And this is where our society is getting it really out of balance. We're at the extreme ends of shame instead of having the nuanced conversations in the middle. And what I mean by that is, the outrage mob seeks to shame no matter what, to play the aggrieved victim and to make somebody bow down to them. And as a result, public figures either do one of two things. They bow down completely and unnecessarily, even if they didn't do that much wrong, or they don't apologize at all, right? And so, no wrongdoing whatsoever. Both are bad. And what I talk about in that chapter is the need to find the nuanced middle ground where you could be a little bit wrong, misspeak a little bit, but be forgiven for it. Some kind of redemption in our society might be nice. And that would incentivize people to maybe apologize more also when they actually do something wrong.
You know, you talk about that
Yeah.
too, how victimhood shouldn't be a cover for crimes. And we've seen that a lot lately with rioters and looters. How do you turn that conversation around so people still feel like they're being treated justly?
Well, we just need to define justice. The problem with the current movement is that it redefines justice. Justice has a definition. It means it's a question of whether people's rights to life, liberty, and property are being infringed upon. It's a question of due process being properly adhered to. Now, in some cases, it's not. In some cases, there's not equality of reciprocity between police and citizens. Just the way conservatives and libertarians would often complain, there's not a reciprocity of equality between government regulators and businesses trying to get a permit or build something, right? And that permit getting denied for no apparent reason. So these are rational explanations of injustice. But what these movements do instead is make justice about power. That's what it's really about for them. It's about group on group identity politics and power over another. And it's retributional justice as opposed to a rational definition of justice. That's the actual conversation we have to have. But unfortunately, emotions reign supreme on this particular issue.
Congressman, Nancy Pelosi called U.S. law enforcement agents stormtroopers. She called the Attorney General a blob. When we come back, I want to continue our conversation with you and get your take on this. Stay with us.